always been stuck between commercial work and artwork. Too artistic for commercial work, too commercial for artistic work. So I've been like in this weird gray area of trying to figure out where I belong. But I got to the point where just making pictures of people was kind of boring. I felt like anybody could do what I was doing. I felt like I was like an imposter in some way. I used to go to locations with a 4x5, 2 sheets of film, and two Polaroids. And if I got it, I got it. If I didn't get it, I wasn't good enough. And obviously that's ridiculous, but it helped me figure out how to slow down, and helped me figure out how to think, and helped me figure out how to look at specific stuff.
How many times have you given up or thought about giving up?
Well, what can I say?
Are there any lessons that you've really learned on how to not manipulate, but how to like appease certain people and communicate effectively?
As a creative, as an artist, it's really vital to...
Welcome along to the Mood Podcast, uncovering the art of conversation one frame at a time. I'm your host, Matt Jacob, and thank you for joining me today in this conversation. In this episode, I'm joined by Doron Gild, a photographer whose work stands at the intersection of fine art and commercial photography. Known for his distinctive ability to capture the rawness of human emotion and the artistry of everyday objects, Doron has built a career that challenges conventional boundaries in the visual arts. With an impressive portfolio spanning editorial, portraiture, and advertising, his work is as diverse as it is thought-provoking. Our conversation delves into his creative journey, from his beginnings in Israel to establishing himself in the bustling art scene of New York. We discuss his methods for finding authenticity in his subjects, the psychology of portraiture, and the intricate balance between artistic integrity and commercial demands. Doron shares insights into his philosophy on creativity, the challenges of navigating a rapidly changing industry, and the unique techniques that make his photography so compelling. This episode really offers a fascinating exploration of the art of making pictures, not just taking them. And I'm excited for you to join us as we uncover the mind behind the lens. So now I bring you Doron Gild. Doron Gild, welcome to the Mood Podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it.
Another excellent photographer who I found in New York. There's so many of you incredible artists over there. What took you to New York? Or have you always been there?
No, I moved when I was 19. I moved from Israel when I was 19, which is now 26 years ago. And I came to New York to be a cinematographer, which did not work out in my favor. By choice, but it just didn't happen. But everything else just fell into place slowly but surely.
Interesting. Well, we'll talk about your journey in a minute. But there was something that really kind of stuck out to me when I was looking a little bit more deeply into your background and your work. And one of the ways I think your images were described, or at least your style, was portraits within portraits, right? Did layers and layers of stories. Can you elaborate on kind of that process and that concept that you're so well known for?
So I think that in the beginning, when I was first starting off and figuring out my voice and figuring out what I like to do, I was seeing a lot of photographers that just turned me on, like Arnold Newman and Seliger and Leibowitz, and all of these people were making these grandiose photographs of people, which you could just easily take the person out and it would still be the same feeling and the same portrait. So I've always wanted to just make photographs that no matter what was going on, you would find out who the person is over and over and over again. And that's the space, and that's the person, and that's the whatever's on their table, whatever's around them. I mean, my room right now is a great example of fuck all, but either way. But it's always been a thing. And slowly but surely I got to the point where I was like, I have to make this moment as opposed to just find it. Because I used to go, when I first started off, I used to go to locations with a 4x5, 2 sheets of film, and two Polaroids. And if I got it, I got it. If I didn't get it, I wasn't good enough. And obviously that's ridiculous. But it helped me figure out how to slow down, and helped me figure out how to think, and helped me figure out how to look at specific stuff in order to be able to describe what I was feeling and or seeing.
And where do you think that the seminal moment was for you in terms of that style? I mean, what sticks out immediately to a layman, I guess, would be your unique and very intriguing style, which is just fascinating. And then knowing as a photographer what goes into getting that style and creating those stories from still images is what is really sparks curiosity. But where did I know we talked about inspirations, and we can kind of that's kind of public knowledge to who your big inspirations are, but was really that where it came from, just studying other artists?
No, I think that realistically it came from trying to find what was passionate for me and what drove me. And it was always portraits and it was always people. But I got to the point where just making pictures of people was kind of boring. I felt like anybody could do what I was doing. I felt like I was like an imposter in some way. So I had to figure out a way to bring into the ideas and bring in myself and bring in the making part of photographs. So I don't take photographs. I can't. Like I have too many rigs, too many lights, too many big cameras. I have to make the photograph. I have to be very specific. I have to be intentional, which is totally different than the way I used to go, where I'm walking around with a 4x5 on my shoulder and like, let's see what we find. So from going from taking photographs to making photographs, I think that school did that for me, even though I think I would have gotten there eventually. But I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York, and it just got to a point where I didn't feel like I was any good, and I needed to figure out what was good. So slowly but surely, making.
Yeah, I think that's such a big delineator between good photographs and excellent photographs, or good photographers and excellent photographers, is the intention behind it, right? And do you get much kickback or criticism with the way I know I do, and so I'm sure you do, but criticisms in terms of how you set images up and in that creation side of it?
I suppose, at this stage, the criticism I get at this stage is only from myself, and it comes down to way before I make the photographs, because I can't afford to make the wrong photograph at this point. So, and I make them for specific people for specific reasons. So it's all very intentional. Obviously, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And obviously, people who like straight photography, who are purists, so to speak, and who just go out and find important things or fascinating things, then they'll be like, what is this photograph for? Like, why are you making these pictures? So it's beyond being my creative outlet, beyond being my art. It's also specifically for something or somebody. I've always been stuck between commercial work and artwork, of too artistic for commercial work, too commercial for artistic work. So I've been like in this weird gray area of trying to figure out where I belong. So even if somebody says, it's going well, let's hope it keeps going. It's like the career's like 25 years in. So let's just make sure that we can still make a living and still make pictures.
Yeah, that's a success right there. You're still around, still making a living from what you love doing.
It's crazy. It's hard and it's scary, and the industry changes every fucking day. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah. We'll get into that a bit later.
Now I'm indoors. I'm going to derobe.
Now you're sweating because you're under pressure, putting you on the spot.
Yeah, look at this. I'm talking about myself and all that shit. Right, it's weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
But yeah, no, thanks for doing it. We all appreciate it. But why, you talked about doing it for individual people as well as groups, commercial versus art. One of the specific individuals I've seen you photograph for commercial purposes was Bon Jovi, who was still is a hero of mine, but I grew up listening to him. I just wanted, just from a self-interest.
What a fucking darling.
Really? Tell me about that shoot.
I couldn't, it was 4 years worth of shooting. I did everything for him for a while. Yeah, like once. So I was hired to do all his wine stuff. A friend of mine that did his PR for his wine stuff. And I was hired to, he called and he's like, you look really expensive. Can we afford this? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to spend? So we got to a point where I was like, let's just fucking do this and give me what you want and we'll make great pictures. And we went up to the Hamptons after I sketched out ideas and I scouted and I do all like the processes again, like it's all very intentional. So I go out to New Jersey, I go out to the Hamptons, I find the right spots, and we spent I think that we did 3 campaigns for the wine. I did a family shoot for him. I did portrait shoots, like headshots for him. I did Christmas cards for him. We just ended up always just making pictures together. And then I got too expensive.
Even for Bon Jovi? Wow.
Yeah, I guess it was a matter of like what he wanted to spend on and what he wanted at the end. But it wasn't like a bad thing. We still chit chat. We still text. Like, he's really a darling. Him and his whole family, they were very welcoming. They were very sweet. Like, whenever we were making work, he was there with us. Like, it wasn't like a prima donna kind of like, let's walk in for the shoot and leave after 5 minutes. He was like cleaning the floors and shit. It was special.
Wow. I want to meet him. I might have to just keep tapping you up. Introduce me like a little.
He's a darling. He really is. And he's busy as fuck all the time. Crazy.
Yeah, I guess these guys, they love what they do, right? Or either that or they spend all their money and need to keep earning, but I don't.
No, he's frugal in a way where it just lets him do whatever he wants. Like, him and his son started a wine business, and he travels and he opens a soup kitchen, and he's really like, I'm just going to do my thing.
What about you and you doing your thing? Let's get back to you in photography. Give me a high level overview of kind of why you started it in the first place. What is it about photography that really captured your attention? And 25 years later, why that passion must still be there, but why do you?
It was never not there. It was never not there. Like, when I was 6, it was there. Like, I got money for a birthday or something. I went and I bought a little 110 Kodak, those really cute ones. It was blue. It was adorable. And it was always something that I could do. And it was always something that was there, even before I could really do it properly. It was always something that I knew that I got this one, which is why I wanted to go into cinematography. But getting into that space was really rough, because basically you start at the very bottom of anything, which means that you're doing fuck all that's got to do with cinematography. You're bringing coffee, you're moving trays, you're 15-hour days in the freezing cold, and you're nowhere near being a boss. And I like being a boss. So I just decided that was enough. And I have had an F3 since I was 14. And it's always been with me, and I just started taking it more seriously.
And then you took the formal education route.
Yeah, well, I started working at a camera store really close to the School of Visual Arts, and all the students would come in, and I'm like, this is awesome. They're all really cool. They're all doing things that I love. So I started taking classes and figuring things out, got really friendly with everybody over there, and just became part of my life. And then I started school. So I started school about 2 years after I'd already spent time in the studios over there, in the dark rooms and all that stuff. And it just became second nature. And the work started getting better and smarter and a little bit less snappy.
How would you recommend I mean, I don't speak to many photographers that took that formal route. Maybe I need to widen my network, but nowadays it seems like everyone's self-taught. Is that, how do you compare what you did compared to what you could do now?
Well, I think that the most that I learned in photography was being on set with photographers that I worked with, plain and simple. But I learned about art in photo school. I learned how to think about art. I learned how to think critically, and I learned how to take criticism. Besides the fact that I learned how to sculpt and paint and all these other wonderful things that I wouldn't have had access to. But to be perfectly frank, nowadays, if not only you know what you want and you can do what you want, and you can get on sets with other photographers, that's where it is. 100%. 100%.
That kind of art education, though, really sculpted your process, at least, if not your style. Is that correct? Tell us, because you sketch a lot of your concept out on paper before you even put it together for a camera. Tell us what your process would look like if you went to shoot a family shoot or something.
So it's really involved, and it takes, I guess it take weeks to do a family shoot, for example. Um, we do the first initial conversation. We start to get to know people, know each other. Having trouble with my speaking and breathing. Just bear with me. I'm like, I guess I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, no, take your time. Take as long as you need.
Initial phone call, and we start figuring out what people are like, who they want, what they're expecting. And I go and I meet them for the first time wherever we're going to be photographing, so I could scout the location. That's the first scout. I go and I snap away at all my favorite little moments. Like I'll look for, no, this is a good little rectangle. That's a great little rectangle. So I'll snap away, snap away, snap away. Obviously we're chit chatting as we're going along. I'm finding about what they like, what they do, little words about, like, seriously, like a word would be enough for me to start thinking of an idea. So we keep talking, keep talking. By the time that I'm leaving, I either have a basic idea or know that I'll be able to find it within the rectangles / photographs that I took. I come home, I look through the stuff, and I start thinking about ideas, again, personality wise, within the space that I have, because I have a limited amount of space or limited amount of like opportunities, if you will. And I think of the ideas, and slowly but surely I find a way to put the action or the story into the what it's already existing, even if I have to like change the setup as far as moving furniture or adding drapes or whatever it is. And then I go back and I make plates. So I literally go and I'll find my frame, and I'll take 5 pictures basically, and I'll go home and I'll start sketching in my notebook. So I sketch the people in my notebook, and then I photograph it. I will show you. Let's see if I can show you. I'll sketch them in my notebook, for example, like literally like little people doing random shit. And then I'll put it into Photoshop, cut it all out, and put it into the frame that I've already photographed. So by the time that the client sees it, it's already like, this is what we're going to make. So the plan is, so this is like, I would say 2 weeks in, after I've already gone back and rephotographed and sketched and all the stuff. About 2 weeks into the process, they can see the ideas. They approve the ideas and they like where my brain's going. Then we start producing them, where it's putting a team together, hair and makeup, clothes, props, anything that I would need. The crazier they let me go, the more expensive it gets.
What a wonderful cultivating process, to really start from the ground up.
And it's such a niche kind of like thing. Like, who fucking does this for families? Literally, I produce it like I would produce an ad job. And I spare no expense, but like mentally or time wise, I really spend like a solid month on every client, which is.
Where did this process come from? Was it a feeling out process that was innate and kind of organic to you, or did you see someone do something very similar and go, look, I love the way that's.
No, it's not something that I saw anywhere, but I think that the circumstances kept driving it into more and more, like the sketching part. I'm like, okay, I have to tell them what I'm thinking. I can't just, I can show them what I'm thinking instead of just telling them, because they don't know that I'm capable. Or like, sometimes the ideas are really wacky, like, or visually, like I can explain it visually, but you don't really have to understand what it is conceptually yet. So I think that it just out of necessity and out of the need for the clients to trust me, and out of the need for the clients to be impressed by the process in order to justify the fact that I'm charging them an hour and a then it is. I'm spending time like beyond the physical shooting, the day of, beyond the post-production, beyond all that stuff. I spend a good solid 2 weeks of physical working on any given client. So it's worth it, and it's expensive.
What are the clients looking for? I mean, obviously, before you kind of get a job, they'll see, or before they hire you, they would see your work and see what you've done before, and yeah. Otherwise,
So what I always loved about say is, so I've had shows, and the shows to me have never been, "Ooh, let's sell pictures off the wall." It's more of a showcase. So people would come and they would see the work and they go, "Oh my God, I love this. I want one of my own." And I'm like, "Okay, let's make some." And as a bonus, you don't just get one, you get five. So we go and we make five pictures during the day of shooting, and they get the art piece, and it's not somebody else's family on the wall, it's theirs. So it comes from an artist's perspective.
if you're making five, or even if you're just making one, how important is the narrative, or how much time do you spend, working on the narrative and the storytelling? Is that really what clients love and what differentiates you from others, or is it more the aesthetic that they enjoy?
I think that they love the aesthetic, and that's such an easy thing to grab onto because it's really pretty, it's very vibrant, everybody looks really beautiful. I make sure that nobody's like not the best they can look. And then on top of that, like it's these people are doing weird shit that they wouldn't do, but they can relate to. Like these aren't such far fetched ideas, but I find a way to make them like way, way out there. So these are skiing people. These are gardeners. These are Dutch people. Like it's all like it all comes into the idea of who they are. But I just go and I nudge it as far as I can to the absurd, so we can all make work together. And then it's like a fun adventure because it's not normal for them, but they know we're talking about them. You know what I mean? So I'm not just walking up and being like, "Oh, let's find this little spot." We're intentionally talking about them, intentionally making work about them. And then it becomes a piece that they can hang on the wall. And not only do they have a memory of the day, but somebody thought about us and put it on the wall. You know what I mean?
How do you then? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to kind of get an idea how you imbue meaning if in images, even if that's a thing or not a thing, because you're essentially making it for other people, but also for yourself, and it has to be more layered than, and people hire you because they're more layered than just a headshot or a family portrait, right? How do you imbue those layers in both technically but also metaphorically in your images?
Well, I think that because I'm making my work for somebody else, because like obviously, like I'm not hanging these pictures up on my wall, but I get to experience like photography to me is this act of making, and the act of thinking and the act of creating, and then the act of showing for sure. Like obviously, we're making this for people to see. So this is my work, which I then am making for somebody else. So that's why it's so much fun because they really let me loose, and they let me loose when in relation to them. Like if something's not right, they're not going to be okay. Let's make this picture. Like they have plenty of time to decide whether or not the work is or the ideas relate to them, whether they want to be in that circumstance, or they want to be in that situation. Then I give them the breathing space. But once it's decided, we're all in. Literally, we're going to get different clothes. We're going to do all this stuff. We're going to have to shop. We're going to have to do all these things. The kids have to fucking get all in line and understand, which is a great thing to have the sketches for, because the kids are like, "Oh, this is what I'm going to be doing," But
So it's like acting for them, right?
yeah, and it's really like I think that's also something that has to do with the type of people who hire me, is that they're performative and they want to be documented in that way. You know what I mean? They want to be out. Like I won't do this with celebrities because they're like, "I'm not working right now. This is not okay. Forget this." I don't see it happening with celebrities on that level, as opposed to John and Dorothea, for example. But like that was because so John and Dorothea came out of, first of all, this is when I was first starting the business as far as the family stuff. And they have, which I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about, but it's not really, it's kind of innocuous. They have a wall in their New Jersey house, which is lined with black and white 8x10s. And it's a photograph of the kids of their family. And each one is made by a different photographer from like Herb Ritz to Annie Leibovitz, to everybody. Like it's a huge line of pictures. And everybody who photographs John that he likes, he asks them to come back and make a Herb Ritz style photograph.
Okay.
Because Herb Ritz was the first person to photograph the babies. And so it was a kind of a whole big thing. So it's their Herb Ritz wall. And I came in and I did this thing. But I said to him, look, I'm not going to bring the whole shebang just to make the one picture. Let's do more family stuff. And he's like, sure. So we went and we made 5 pictures. And we recreated a picture that they made with, and then I elaborated on it. We did a car picture, but it all came down to the picture of the kids that they hung on the wall, on the Herb Ritz wall, which is so flattering.
Yeah, that must be very, very flattering. Yeah. Do you do much celebrity work now?
Only when hired.
And is hiring, I mean, tell me about the commercial side of what you do and the challenges, I'm sure are
Terrifying.
Yeah, to tell us a little bit more about that, and even with the experience that you have and the challenges that you still have today, even with the changes that are going on in the industry, as much as just you being a photographer.
Yeah, it's nonstop. It's like there's never been a place where I'm like, oh, I'm okay now. It's always been a fight to get to what's going on. I have an agent, and now I'm a part of an agency. Like there's a whole. The more I can get the word out, the better. I just put a huge portfolio together, like full printed portfolio that I haven't for like years. But I want to bring it back to what it used to be, because it's hard to get the jobs because everybody's out and everybody's looking, and there's so many of us and there's so many ways to get to where you're going now. And now fucking AI. Not that I'm worried about that as far as this type of work, but a lot of the other facets of work have gone. Like I don't do still life anymore because why? AI can do it just as well and better. I mean, it's all out there already. But I think that the struggle is always like I always feel like, okay, this job is going to be the one that's going to make it roll through, and it's going to be fine now, and it works and it's great. And then I'm like, where's the next one? And they have to make a living. You have to like pay bills. Thank God my wife is amazing, so she definitely takes care of us. But it's hard as a creative, as an artist, and that specifically my type of work is not for everybody, and it's not something that I can just get up and do. I can't be like, oh, let's go make a picture.
Yeah,
it's a process, and it's expensive, and it's assistance, and it's gear, and I've gotten to the place where I'm like, fuck, what have I done? But that's like I grew up wanting to make the big pictures. I grew up wanting to make the pictures that blew my brain away when I was looking at them. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm paying for it.
How many times have you given up or thought about giving up?
I have never, but I've been asked to.
What? Really?
Yeah, because like if you're a family, if you got kids, you got to figure it out. You know.
I thought you meant on a commercial level.
Oh no! People, everybody who works with me, it's fun. Like, but we need more of them. I think it really comes down to luck, perseverance, talent, and just plain stupidity. Because, like, but who would do this to themselves? Who would get to the who does this? You know?
Wait, we're trying to inspire a generation of photographers. Come on.
Fantastic. I'll teach you how to make pictures. Let's do this. I love it. Like, I'll bring you to my sets and we'll do the best we can, but it's fucking hard. Like I keep remembering a lecture at the School of Visual Arts, and the professors saying, 10% of you are going to be photographers. 1% of you are going to make money making photography. Like, and they're talking to like 100 people in a room, which means that one of us is going to do it when it's all said and done. And this is like coming from a really well-known agent, and like this is real, and it's not untrue. Because when I look at the people who are around us at the time, some of them are doing their best, some of them are not. Some of them are curators now, some of them are art directors now, some of them are massage therapists now. Like it doesn't, like it was the experience, and that's that. I can't Well, what can I say? I love it. I don't know how to do anything else. I don't want to do anything else, but it's fucking difficult. And it's going to be difficult forever. Like, I'm not retiring. There's nothing to retire from. I love my life, but it's like, it's hard every time you gotta, and even with the making of the photographs is hard when it's all said and done. Like, I don't just go around and snap away. I don't just, it's not the way I do things. So maybe it's just the path specifically that I've taken. I'll
No,
encourage anybody to make pictures, but
yeah, it's easy to make pictures that you think will be popular. Well, it's not easy, but it's easier. It's look at social media. It's every other photo is exactly the same. People. It depends what your intent is. Depends what your goals are. Right? It's so challenging to. I'm super inspired by the fact that you're stubborn in a good way, that this is what I want to do. This is my style. If people don't like it, they don't like it. If people love it, then great. And I'll work with that niche. How have you had to evolve, though? Maybe not technically, but just maybe in a business sense or personally. How have you had to evolve with those challenges over the last couple of
actually,
decades?
oddly enough, it is technically because I guess business wise, I learn every time, and like the agents are the best way to go about things. But um, I have to learn how to think out of my own box, and I have to learn how to make work that not as not just for myself, and it's commercial work, for example. So you have to do it in the studio. You have to do it brighter. You have to do it with a smile, as in they have to be smiling. And so it's like they like the way I tell stories, so they'll hire me, but they still need it to be bright and sunshiny and great. But nobody's going to hire me to do a running in the field with the backlight and all that. It's just not what they would hire me for. But they still need it to feel good on a billboard, so it needs to be bright and acceptable. I always saw myself as the person who would do all the movie posters. That was the ambition for a long time. But that's such a tough place to crack, considering there are like 8 people who do it fantastically well, and it's like the ladder in there is more difficult than I can deal with, I guess. But it's not something that I don't want to be doing.
What type of photography do you think is gone or going then because of AI? Well, I mean, I think movie posters is I mean, that's going to be replaced by AI at some point.
Yeah, I think certain aspects of it will definitely be replaced. The portrait side of it won't. You'll still be making those pictures. They'll just do it in the studio with backgrounds or whatever, especially now that they can do all the digital backgrounds in studio. I think that still life is going. There's no reason to hire somebody to do these crazy moves anymore or splashes anymore. That's all so easy with AI now, because once there's information on the internet that has that picture there, that's it. It's possible to make. So that's why the portrait side of things won't get replaced. I think it's not forever, but not for a while. Then my stuff is like I can't even start describing it, and everything is done in camera. Obviously, I clean up skin and I do contrast and I add some color, but it's all right there. So to then bring AI into the idea of it doesn't seem like it's even like a challenge for me or concern for my work. But it's as far as evolving and as far as what I'm worried about. I think I'm answering too many questions at once. But the evolution that I have to take and still have to take is, first of all, how to communicate with people that don't understand where I'm coming from, slash they have a certain way of thinking and they have a certain way of doing things, and they have to answer to certain people, so they can't really take the risks that they used to be taking. Like art directors and art buyers used to be like, "Oh, I love this guy's work. Let's go see what's going on." But if they fuck up, that's it. They're fired now. There's no space for it. So nobody takes any risks. I suppose that they don't need to take risks. So if you do and you fuck up, you're done. Because now, like, you can find the person who would safely do this job, or like that do it in a way where you can fix it later, so on and so forth. But well, basically what I'm saying is that when I started, I mean, we were shooting on film. We weren't even shooting digital. So like, you have to trust us. You have to trust that you hired the right person. You have to trust that we know what we're doing. You have to trust it. And now it's all there. It's all in front of you. And there's no need to trust. There's no need to take a risk because we can find somebody who can do it right already. We don't need to like start anybody off. We don't need to take any risk.
Why can they find someone to do it right? Just because it's more accessible and there's more photographers and it's easier to learn, more open to learning for people. Everyone's got a camera, et cetera, et cetera.
Or it's basically the fact that there are already like the people who have been doing it for years and years and years, and slowly but surely they'll get replaced. But the process is decades. Like Stephen Klein is still Stephen Klein. Nobody's taking his space yet. You know, Andy Leibovitz is still doing the work. Seliger is still doing the work. Joey L is still doing the work, but he's choosing to go in different directions. You know what I mean? Like everybody, there's like a consistent like pouch of people that are doing the work, and there's no reason to not have Art Shriver do the job as opposed to letting me do it. Why? You know?
Mm-hmm. What is, you mentioned Joey L, who's a big inspiration of mine. What is he up to these days? I haven't seen much of him. I know he loves his Twitter and his NFTs, but do you see much?
No, I mean, I think that like after we were in the same agency for a while, and he was doing all the, you know, the Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he was doing all these movie things. And then I think then concentrating on his like on the Africa book, which was beautiful, and on the idea of projects and what he can do and where he can go with it. But I mean, I think his work is wonderful. And I remember looking at the work in the very beginning and being like, fuck. Like he's making the work I wanted to make, but he's making it in Africa and it's fucking beautiful. What the fuck? I remember being stunned by it. And he's younger than me.
He started when he was doing commercial photography when he was 17, 18, wasn't he? I mean, just insane. Yeah. What a dick. I love him. I love his yeah.
No, for sure. Like, we had the same agent for a while, and I'm like, oh, like I want to do all these movie posters and stuff like that. And he goes, well, Joey's here. I can't give you his work. I'm like, there it is. Oh yeah, like straight up. He's like, oh, we'll work and we'll get you stuff. It's great, but you can't do that one because we already have somebody for that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big agency. It's like this wasn't like a toy agency.
You touched upon communication, and I want to kind of dive into at least some advice or some lessons that you've learned and how to communicate on both sides of the job. You know, one on business, agency, clients, but one on, you know, the subjects and the people that you're taking photographs of. Are there any kind of like lessons that you've really learned on how to not manipulate, but how to like appease certain people and communicate effectively in order to get a job or to be a good client, and vice versa when you're on set, when you're making these pictures over the course of a few weeks?
Yeah, I think that the client side of things and the people that I photograph, we just get along. It's like almost an automatic thing. I'm a little humorous. I'm a little goofy. It's fun to be around me. I'm like very exuberant especially when it comes to onset and when I have ideas, and it's like really, really exciting. So the client side of things and communicating with people, that one I got. I love it, and it's part of the reason why I make the work, because I love people and I love learning about people. I love conversations. The business side, I've always been lost. I've always tried to just be myself and try to just speak my truth, and sometimes it works and sometimes it's too much, and sometimes it's completely off the rails as far as, well, we're business people. This is pharma. What are you talking about? So like, I think that the experiences are individual, and I think that the experiences are specific to any job that I've ever had, except for the family portraits and for my personal stuff, like the personal portraits that I used to do, which was easier to make. It was always like, I just want to spend time with you. Let's do this. Let's figure it out. Let's get to know each other, and then I can make the right pictures. And it's great because hopefully they want to spend time with me too. So it works.
So in the, if we're talking to, a third party here who wants to do what you do, give me some distilled version of that, like a couple of tips. Empathy, or try and listen more, spend time with your subjects.
Always listen, always empathy, always time. But I don't even know if any of it is going to make a difference between the fact that you just have to communicate, and you have to want to be there. You have to want to be next to this person. You have to want to experience these people. Otherwise, it comes across as fake, and it doesn't work. But I can't, like, how do you explain how you communicate with people? Like, to me, it's always just been me being enthusiastic about the moment and me understanding who I'm talking to. And it's not even a matter of like finding the thing to talk about. It just always just works. I just find people interesting.
And you found that relatively easy from day one, or you feel like you've grown into that and now it's so natural to you?
I think I've grown into being an adult and a human to, know. I know that my work has matured with me maturing, and it's slowed down with me slowing down, and my ego going away, and all that, all the little bits and pieces, for sure, as an adult. But I've always wanted to be doing the same thing. I suppose that it just comes down to editing my thoughts and my work and my words and all. I guess it's just growing up when it's all said and done. The work itself, I feel like I can look back at photographs that I've made and now don't like. I even like, it takes me time I go into phases of liking my work, not liking my work, liking specific pictures, not, but I can still look back and be like, oh, I wasn't even there. I wasn't paying attention. This is not the right thing. That's why the picture didn't work. And if it's like there's some commercial work or editorial work that I go in and I don't like the people that I'm photographing, you could fucking see it in the work for sure, which was a detriment to me as a creative and as a commercial photographer, because I wasn't fully, there as an artist, which was a problem.
But how do you get around that if you even this day, right? If you got a job tomorrow and you with a client that you don't really connect with, but they're obviously paying you your fees, how do you navigate around that? Or you just don't take the job?
Well, I can't afford to not take jobs nowadays, but I think that when it comes down to it, it's the idea. And if I have a certain idea, I go into a place where, first of all, let's make sure that they like the idea and it's fine and we can function with it. But then I just make the work, and I make the work because it's my work, not because it's a portrait anymore. So I'm making a rectangle that looks pretty and the light's great and the action works and it flows nicely and it works for them, but it won't go in my portfolio and it won't go anywhere where I can present it, so to speak, because it doesn't feel real or rich to me in that way. And I can have pictures that didn't work physically, but I emotionally am really attached to them, which I'll put all over the place. You know what I mean? But I think that it really comes down to fucking deal with it now. And I didn't used to be able to do it. And that's maturity and that's ego and that's all the stuff that you would expect an adult to deal with in a much more rational way.
Yeah, you say being an adult, inferring that actually, as an adult, you know yourself better. So you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, you have a bit more awareness of the ego, the good and bad ego, what everything goes into, what you're identified with in terms of your thoughts all the time, and being able to compartmentalize those, right? And I think that just comes with maturity, and some people reach it a little bit sooner than others. But I was listening to I can't even remember his name, but an artist, not a photographer, and I someone sent me this link. an old Japanese artist, and I'm not doing him any service by not remembering his name, but he was adamant that all artists should work in a job in their 20s. Just go and be employed, learn what it's like to just work in a fucking job, right? Rather nowadays, you reach 18, 19 and you start social media and you can do free jobs and this brand deal and this brand. You don't even have to be that good. And before you know it, a couple of years later, you're kind of earning your own money, which is great. Obviously, those opportunities are fantastic, but you don't know yourself. You can't create anything of meaning, and you can't make the mistakes that you can. And if you're being bossed around and making mistakes on someone else's dime, right, and then really giving yourself that time to mature and learn that.
In my world, that came from, well, I obviously had a normal job at a camera store or a pizza shop or whatever the fuck it was. But I think that assisting was really vital for me. Even though I was shooting and I was working while I was assisting at all the points, the idea of how to deal with somebody else being in charge and just catering to somebody else and making sure that everything works, and because being a first assistant in New York City, you're fucking in charge, but you're not in charge. So the ego goes away. You have to, otherwise you get fired. Plain and simple. Like, this isn't your set. Fuck off. But when it comes down to it, you're still learning how to manage a set. You're still learning how to manage people, and then you learn how to be like, okay, this is where my job ends, and where the art of his or hers starts. So that's the humility and the understanding of what's okay for me came with about 15 years of working with fantastic photographers, artists, and photographers. And I think that and then once you start not doing that at all, or not assisting anybody, you're in a world where you're like, I have to make my own work now, and I have to be that boss again, and I have to teach the kids that are coming up on the other side in the same way, so they can move on, do the same thing. So my assistants are all wonderful, and they all learn, and we have a fantastic time on set because it feels like we're all together and we're all learning. I'm the boss, though. Now,
do you think we should all try and be better artists as photographers? Do you think we should all try and pursue the artistry in photography? And if so, do you think the world would be a more beautiful place if we did?
Being a creative now is being an artist. Anything you do right now creatively is being an artist. And I think that if the art as expression and as far as what art means is there, people will take it more seriously and more people will pay attention. I don't think you have a choice. Like, you chose as a photographer, or at least as a creative photographer, not necessarily there is no other thing. It's an art form. You choose to do it commercially, you choose to do it artistically. If you don't put yourself into it, it's not going to work. And that's where art comes in. No matter what you're doing, it's still going to do it. So, like, you traveling and making photographs, you find a way to make them different than other people do. That's where your art form comes in, within the parameters of where you are and the story you're telling. Like, you do things that are not normal I'm going to go travel and meet these people and take pictures of these people. You wait for the right moment. You find the right people. It feels like you're looking for the right tribe almost, in a weird way. And then you find a way to make the light sing, and make the light move. Your pictures move, which is really fascinating and really beautiful, to make pictures like in a space that's not in your control, and still you have full control, which is quite impressive, actually.
Thank you. That was very kind. What do we say then to those photographers? Because I get a lot of people coming back. I like to talk about philosophy and meaning and layers and the intention behind photography, rather than just the technical side of things, which is obviously we all want to pay attention to that. But a lot of people say, I just want to fucking take photos. Right? I don't care about the meaning. I don't care about the storytelling. I just want to take photos.
Well, I think that it comes down to there is no big fucking pile of photographs that you could just take them from. You have to make them. You have to create them. You know, there has to be a process. There has to be an intention. There has to be a will to go and pursue. There has to be something that you are passionate about in order to make work. And that's what it is, making work. Like if your body of work is only, Coca-Cola cans that are pouring into like that, it'll kill you. That'll drive you nuts. You won't be satisfied. Granted, you might be rich, but you won't be satisfied. And there's no way that's the only thing you're doing. And if you want to show the other stuff that you're doing, it's fine. Like there's, as a creative, as an artist, it's really vital to like make things that make you want to fucking make them. I can't even think about any other way to tell a person that if you're going to be an artist, make art. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, this looks cute, and I'm going to figure out how to take this picture. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, at a certain point when you're young and you're trying to figure it out and trying to learn how to, make this light do that and that light do that. Yeah, you're learning, but again, assisting is fantastic, and you can learn from masters. Masters.
Who are your biggest inspirations, or who have been your biggest inspirations, and who are today?
Well, I think that the work clearly speaks of Gregory Crutzen and Leibowitz and Seliger. I spent 2 wonderful summers working with Seliger between my first year in college and second, and then third and fourth. And every time I walked into that studio, I was in awe, and I learned so much just by like standing there. Forget running around, forget 4:00 in the morning. Doesn't fucking matter. It was incredible. And then I think that like I've always tried to figure out a way to, I don't want to say make the same work as Crutzen does, but the reality is if I can have that kind of money to make those kind of pictures, it would be amazing. $250,000 on an image. Why not? Close down a town. Let's do this. Oh my God. In the very beginning, when he made Twilight, that's what it was. That's what it cost. Every fucking photo. But it was like that around the board, across the board. Sorry. Like when Glenn Luchford was making his work for like Vogue or for anybody, the productions were massive, and there was no expense spared at all. There was so much money being flown anywhere that they could make any picture they wanted, which is fantastic. Can you imagine? Go do what you want. Sure. It's unbelievable. Yep.
Now it's just do it in a studio and fill in the rest with software.
Or figure out how to fucking make somebody pay for it. And that's literally what I've been trying to do. Somebody's got to pay for me to get my assistants to grab my gear to help me make these pictures. And I have fun doing it, and people get lots out of it. So it's not like they're not getting what they're paying for, but I'm certainly making sure that I can make work with them making it's the way it is. What are you going to do? Like that's the hustle.
Yeah, that's the hustle. People, if they don't realize that before they start, they soon realize it when they get in, and it's never ending. It's important to try and enjoy that hustle, right? Try and enjoy that process and just live in it.
Or at least have those moments within the hustle that make it worthwhile, which to me is being on set, which to me is finishing the work, which to me is seeing the print, which to me is seeing it on the wall. There's these little moments that they're so much fun and they're so uplifting. It's like, oh, this is the feeling. That's it. That's it.
That's what keeps you going.
Oh my God, I'm getting shivers now just thinking about the notion of like, I just put a book together. It was seeing all the work printed is so much fun, and it's so like, oh, this is what I'm doing. It weighs like 40 pounds. I'm like, it feels happy, and I'm a happy person.
Well, I can tell. Do you think we've lost our way in the traditional forms of photography, and we're kind of going back to books and prints and film and those more tangible emotion filled like feelings with photography?
I absolutely think that we've lost it, and I think that we're going back to it. I'm talking to my agents now in the last 3 weeks a month. I'm I decided to do a new book, and I'm like, not like a published book, like a portfolio book. And I'm like, I want to get this in front of people. I want to have meetings. And they're like, nobody has meetings anymore. I'm like, no, 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 no. People would love to have meetings. Let's just make sure they understand that the meeting is going to be me in front of them with a big ass fucking book, and we're going to chit chat for an hour and a half. Maybe we'll, like what we're talking about. Maybe you'll be like, oh, see you later, never see you again. But to have somebody in front of you and to show them work that you've been slaving over, and you can feel it in the book, and you can see the passion, you can see the effort, they'll enjoy it, even if it's just an hour off their day. Like, think about it. Like, these people are going, oh, let's have a meeting and look at fucking pictures for an hour and a half. It's like, why not? So I'm like, no, we can't accept this. If we can't get meetings anymore, let's do it. Before the pandemic, if my agent wanted to get meetings, I would schedule a week. Let's go to meetings, and we would do like 3 meetings a day, wherever the fuck I was. Why isn't that possible anymore? 1 meeting a day, fine. Somebody wants to spend time either with me or with my work. Let's find them.
Is that because our attention spans generally, both personally, but on a commercial sense, I would just need a quick 5 minutes here and a quick 5 minutes there, and it's almost like the physical version or the literal version of scrolling?
No, they think they know you already from seeing your website and your Instagram. It's absolutely social media. It's absolutely the right now. Let's find it. Let's go. I see an egg in a hand. That's what I want. Let's do it. And it loses the personal side of things. It loses the art side of things. And realistically, like, this is the fun part of our work. It's like, let's meet people and let's fucking make work together. Let's make work together.
Yeah, true forms of collaboration.
Yeah, the collaboration is wonderful. And it's like, when commercial work used to be, let's bring this guy to bring his ideas. The only big commercial work I've ever had was, we're doing this, it's for diabetes, let's say, and this is the story. What do you think? I'm like, okay, this is what I need. This is where we're going to shoot it. These are the people that are going to be in it. Because they want my input. They want my work to represent them. That's the whole point. Why hire me if you want somebody else's work? Why hire me if you want to make the same pictures that are in your head? You want me to come up with something. Let's do it. Let's have fun doing it. So if you're sitting in front of a creative director and they have like 6 jobs that they're thinking about, and you have something that's going to relate to one of them, that's it. That's where the work starts. But if you don't fucking sit in front of them, they'll never remember anything. All these people get sent hundreds of emails a day with thousands of photographs, and they don't know any photographers because, like, they don't even pay attention anymore. But if you're an agent or an agency, send the work, sit in front of somebody. Let's do this. And I think it's going to work.
Now it's a digitized ecosystem, right? And it's social media driven. And do you pay much attention to social media, and how do you see that kind of impacting?
It feels like I'm living it. It's horrible. Like, I'm trying to crack the algorithm, trying to crack this understanding. I've been on Instagram since it started. Basically, I've had 9,000 followers. Like, I don't even know how people, like, you have 200,000 followers on Instagram. I have no idea how to crack that code. All I know is I'm going to make pictures. Hopefully people like them.
Look, it's a lot of it's smoke and mirrors. I'd say 50,000 of those are boosted posts from years ago. So essentially paid. I've never kind of bought followers, but it's a marketing. You've got to either. And I talk to people who ask me this all the time. And it's like, really, to grow, you've got to post 5 times a week. You've just got to. They want posts, right? The algorithm is, it's very nuanced in this and this and this and this and this, but essentially you've just got to fucking post, and you've got to do it consistently until the algorithm learns, okay, you're really like consistently giving us content, which means it's going to just grab people for longer. And then on top of that, you've got to give them money. I as a photographer anyway, you can't, you got to.
Yeah. I certainly do the boostings and all the little stuff. I don't make enough photographs in order to post every 5 days, unless we're talking about stories and little bits and pieces. I don't like to put my little snappies on. I have 80,000 pictures on my phone, but I'm not like, that's not the work that I put on there. You know what I mean?
It's difficult when I know, yeah, me too. Like I barely make that, right? And so you have fortunately the podcast saved me. And that's what really grew my account. It's because I have so much content and I can post reels every day, clips. As a photographer who didn't have the podcast, there's no way. You just can't do it unless you've got images every fucking day or you're willing to do reels outside of the images.
Yeah. And I don't like to repeat myself. Like to me, it's like, it's almost cheating if I have a picture on there twice. It's like I don't want to do that. I just want to put real, like all the work that I want to show, the work that I want to relate to, the work that I want people to relate to. I think I don't mean to sound doom and gloom, and I could feel it. Like this whole conversation, I'm like, wow, he's gonna fucking edit the shit. I was like, how is he gonna work this? I'm like a mess. All my ADHD is everywhere.
I love it.
I love this job. I really do. I love making work. I love being around artists. I love being taken care of as a creative. I moved to a town. I left the city and I moved to a town upstate in the Hudson Valley. And the embrace that I got from the art community here has been unbelievable and inspirational. And I can get emotional about it. And that's why I love this. It's because it feels like I'm a part of something that I've always wanted to be a part of and / realize now that I've always been a part of it. Like in New York, I was fucking chasing this one thing. Well, let's go. And then I moved and I'm like, oh, fuck. I already had it. It was over there. And I just brought it all with me. And now I'm here and I'm doing my thing and I'm making my work and I'm making better work than I've ever made. And I love it.
Good for you. Like I know you're not coming across doom and gloom. And what's important, actually, I think, and I try and usually it's me, the kind of the realism in any conversation. But it's important that people understand that A, everyone's got their own journey through this, and B, if you want to go and fucking earn a living, a full-time living as an artist, creative, photographer, whatever you choose, it's hard work and it doesn't stop. You've got to really want to do it and you've got to find a way to enjoy that process, and being part of something like you've just talked about is so important. Feeling a sense of belonging, and you don't have to be like, I feel like everyone wants to be liked by everyone these days, which as we know is just impossible. Find what you love to do and just go and do it with everything that you've got, and knowing that it's going to be challenging. And with a little bit of luck, you might fucking make something out of it, right? But it's going to be difficult. That's okay.
I mean, think about the percentage of people who actually, well, now it's different. I don't even know what's going on now with people making money off photography. But it used to be like nobody fucking makes it. And maybe somebody slips through the cracks and does it, you know? But now, like, it's possible to even like make rent. Fuck it. Like rent and supermarket. Do it. Just work your ass off and make rent and supermarket. That's it. Wait until you have kids and then fuck. But the reality is that it's not easy to be an artist. I have a 21-year-old son, and he is brilliant in everything he does. He's brilliant. He's a great painter. He makes music. He does all these things. And I say to him, you can go and do that and it's going to be great. But you've seen how my life has gone and you've seen how hard it's been to get to wherever I'm going or wherever I've gotten. So you need to have a business degree and an art degree, just so you understand that this is not easy. And as an artist only, you're going to fall into so many traps and eat so much cereal, you're going to fucking go crazy. Just learn the basics of life and then create from there. But, 18-year-olds aren't even going to school anymore. They're like, oh, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, I'm a content creator, I'm a YouTuber. For fuck's sake, it's hard. There aren't more than one Mr. Beast. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Just
apart
him.
from this podcast. Let's go.
Yes.
Well, look, I hope you can replay this conversation to potential clients. That'd be good. With your book, you can just get them to watch the podcast. This is who I am.
This is really difficult, motherfuckers. Give me work.
Give me.
Yeah, I
Look,
would like.
I go on.
No, I keep thinking about all the things that I've said and the speed in which I'm saying them and whether or not they made sense and how the fuck it's going to come across. I don't know. Like, who cares? Like, this is like the reality of who we are at any given time, and it's hard. And I can't lie and say that like this has been like piece of cake.
I feel it. I feel it. I appreciate your authenticity, and I know everyone listening will, because they'll take solace in the fact, okay, yeah, I'm finding it really difficult as well. I'm glad that there's not glad, but I feel more at peace that there's other people that are struggling as much as I am, and everyone has their levels of struggle.
Yeah, and I think self-doubt is valid, and I think that like being afraid is valid, but I think that persevering and fucking making work and enjoying the work itself, like again, those moments of me finishing shooting and hanging the things on the wall or there's these joys that are unmatched, like it makes it all so happy, and it's vital. And as a creative, as an artist, that's literally why we keep going. It's that like people jump off out of planes in order to get this kind of feeling. I don't do that, but I'll go and spend a day, running around with 9 lights everywhere, and that's exciting to me. That's the adrenaline. That's the love. That's the passion. It's really fun.
Good for you. Well, I look forward to staying close and following that work as you create more. And yeah, I just want to thank you again for taking part and being honest and really telling us how it is. And I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Hopefully, I'll catch you in.
That would be wonderful, man. Come on up here, take a vacation from Bali.
Maybe I'll wait to the spring.
For sure. I really appreciate you having me on here. I hope you could figure out a way to edit my madness. And thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
We don't edit madness, but we love it. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matt. Have a wonderful time. Have a wonderful day.
Hello, good evening, good morning.
Hello. Oh, your light's so much better than mine.
Well, I'm in a studio and I do this all the time, so I would expect that at least I've got some decent lighting.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How do I pronounce your name?
Doron.
Doron Gild.
Correct.
All right. Wrap.
Fantastic. Wow, I do feel like I was so scattered and all over the place. I think I was a little nervous, and then I think that I was like trying to find the smart things to say. I don't know, whatever.
Man, this is brilliant. I don't think you have anything to worry about.